see what we have going here. Hopefully we're cooking. So let me see what we've got happening. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, we've got a good connection. Let's settle in. We'll wait for some people to arrive. I'll keep getting some things set up here. When you're here in the chat, let me know you're here because we are going to do Q&A for the first 10 minutes. So once you're here in the chat, let me know. Okay, we got Scott Weldon. Hey, my friend. Happy Wednesday. We are back and we are on a roll right now in terms of Wednesdays. Am I right? Gray Skies 92. Hello. Okay, Indiana in the house. Nice. Okay, coming in. Let's see. Alfonsina. Hi, how are you? You will see that I am still recovering from a run. I just posted a reel, which I'm not the best at, but just letting people know that I'm going to be here live. So let's see who's here. Yamaha, welcome, welcome. We'll let people filter in. I'm not quite sure if the stream is working over there in Godzilla in the house. Hi, my friend. I'm just making sure the stream's working on Twitch, and I'm not sure if it is, but we will see if people come in. Okay, so here's what. Let's see, Gray Skies. Oh yes, nice. It is time. It's time to let's get going here. We've got Tiro Correa from Argentina. Saludo. I'm so glad you're here. Let's see. Recovering from the flu. My daughter Sersha's home today. She has the flu, and she thinks she was jinxed because she said she was on Instagram or something, and she saw that there's a flu going around, and then she was sick all night, which is obviously terrible, not something that we want. So, of course, I went into the mode of getting things ready for her to try to be well today. So she's here too. Okay, so here's our deal for the evening. Welcome to After Hours Rewire, the new show that I will be consistently doing on Wednesday evenings. If you are following my channel, you will hopefully have noticed a lot of upgrades. I'm getting really, really intentional on trying to provide really great content that helps you. So for the first 10 minutes, we're going to do Q&A. So get some Q's going in the chat so I can provide some answers. And then I'm going to pivot into a couple slides. I thought we would pick up where we were last week. Last week, we were talking about your relational self and how when you get in a funnel of internalized pleasure, basically, where you are, self sufficient, shall we say, that then it can break down your relationship. It breaks down intimacy. So, we're going to dive into some slides that have to do with still our theme for February is intimacy and arousal, function or lack thereof. We are going to talk about some updates with the live event that my son Declan and I are doing. We are also going to do Let's Talk About Brains Baby. And we're going to see if we can get Dr. Trish Leigh versus AI cooking here tonight. So please put some cues, put some comments into the chat because this is your time. The time here is 5 p.m. It is 5:03 p.m. 5:05 now. 5:05 p.m. Um, so it does kind of make it long days for me, I will tell you. But this is important for me, so I'm committing to showing up. That's why I had to squeeze the run in. I got myself an awesome health coach at the beginning of the new year, and I was going to see if I could pull up my Fitbit to show you my consistency. But I got myself a coach, and this is what coaching and accountability will do for you: is I have worked out every single day since the beginning of the new year, and even if I have to, basically throw myself outside to get a workout in, I'm doing it. So I've been very excited. I don't know if I can pull up my calendar if it shows anything. Well, today I basically been in my chair all day and I now have 7,664 steps. So um, that's what a run will do for you. Okay, so let's see what we've got going here in the chat. Okay, let me put it up here a little bit further so I don't have to look down in the corner. Can porn cause someone to become violent? And also, in some cases, does porn not affect someone? Gray Skies, good question. Absolutely. We know from a lot of studies that are in my book. My book's handy, probably from last week, because normally it's buried under a stack of my journals. Um, there's scientific studies, many of them in this book that I wrote, Mind Over Explicit Matter, that shows that pornography consumption absolutely increases sexual violent tendencies. Now, the leap isn't that difficult to make, right? If you're consuming content that is violent, which much of pornography is violent, we know it is primarily violence against women, then you're also attaching that to dopamine. So that violence is becoming arousing to you. And then you want to get the dopamine from the thing that your brain has been linked to, which is sexual violence. So, absolutely. And there's many studies that show that there is a connection between that. And they're in my book, Mind Over Explicit Matter. In some cases, does it not affect someone? I would contend it always affects someone. And there are scientific studies, again, listed in my book, that show that consumption, even one time a month, affects the way that you feel about yourself in terms of self esteem, um, body image, your relationship, the whole lot, the ripple effect, even at one time a month. So I would contend no, if you consume it, it's impacting you. But of course, the variables that affect how much it's going to impact you include frequency, consistency, intensity. I find edging, which is basically staying in that dopamine induced state for as long as possible before releasing, that tends to have the most damage on the brain and it impacts a person the most. So there's many variables, but those are some of them. Let's see. Okay, we've got T here from Nigeria. I'm going to back up, so I'm just going to try not to ignore anybody's questions. Oh, we got a couple people from Nigeria. Hello, Warigas Supatrick 996. Okay, so let's see. Yes, please try to stay tuned even though you're recovering. That's rough. Okay, question. I like it, Grace, guys. Bring on the questions. 3:35 Vikram in the morning in the AM. Well, I'm glad you're here, but I also wish you were sleeping, which is a good segue to I am currently putting together the content for March, and we're going to be talking all about sleep and sleep disruption. And I am really excited because I think it's fire, honestly. I think the content's great, not because I'm putting it together, but because I am super psyched to bring it to you. I put together images of sleep architecture. It's going to be really really cool. Yeah, Scott, I wish I could tell you that I'm working out with intensity. Yes, I totally understand. 5 days a week, agreed. I went for a 2 mile run. Like I'm not getting any awards for the most fit person in the world, but I am doing a workout with my coach tomorrow. So it's really like more like movement 7 days a week, which, I think that's very important. But then trying to hit some more strength training. My goal, if you've been following me for a while, you probably know some of these things, but my youngest daughter, I have 5 kids. My kids are 23, 22, 21, 19, and 15. My youngest daughter will drive soon. And when she drives, I plan on going to the boxing club that I have been threatening to for years. So I'm psyched to be getting in more shape, like in terms of strength. So pretty fun. Okay, so let's see. Yes, agreed with the muscles. I'm with you. Hello from South Africa. I'm glad you're here. 38-day streak without it and failed on Sunday and also yesterday. Is there any tip to not continue to fall back and lose progress? This is for Thursday ish, 5166. Yes, absolutely. So here's what I want to tell you is that it's win or learn. So extend yourself grace in the early days of recovery. Don't tell yourself you failed. Because when you tell yourself you failed, language is an extension of your thinking, right? So you think you failed, then you say you failed. Or if you say you failed, you think you failed. Failure is a very big concept, right? It's going to put you into shame. Shame creates a downward spiral. We here are creating an upward spiral. We want you to get more into a posture of guilt. So, guilt is I did a thing I don't want to. And when you do a thing that you don't want to, it's an error that needs correction, not a failure. So, that's one thing. And then learn. You have to learn. You have to break down what happened. Is it that there's holes in your routine and the reinforcement or the habit loop is super strong? So let's just say if you weren't able to stay on your streak on Sunday, is it because Sundays you don't have an anchoring event? You don't have anything that you do and you're used to sitting in front of a screen, which ultimately leads you to pornography use. Maybe that's it. Or is it you're stressed out? Check with your stressors. It's usually stressors, fatigue, and habit loops that we're dealing with here. Okay, gray skies in South Korea. Nice, nice. Thank you, John Don. I'm glad to be live too, because kind of scripting the videos more is cool because I'm trying to make them shorter and less of me going on rants. So this is a place where I can rant all that I want and hopefully in a way that's powerful and helps you out. So let's see, joining from Morocco. Nice. Early positive signs should someone look for to know their brain is healing after quitting porn? This is a great question. I love this. So, early positive signs, well, I can tell you, first of all, that some signs might be withdrawal. So I know that doesn't seem positive because it won't feel good to you. But at the same time, if you feel different, you might feel a little increase in anxiety. You might feel, some brain fog at first. But if you feel that at first, that's because the need for dopamine is leaving your system. After that, you should feel heightened arousal, heightened baseline arousal, which means your focus sharpens, your anxiety decreases, you feel more present. If you struggle with sexual arousal dysfunction, what I call SAD, then that improves. So then your intimacy improves. You feel calmer and more peaceful on the inside. Those are some of the early signs to look for. Ram Zane 22. Good morning, my friend. Where are you that you're here in the morning? Let me know. Okay, we've got a question hog. Gray skies. No, I'm only kidding. Last question, and then I'm going to share some of the slides so we can stay on track, and then we'll do more questions on the half hour at 5:30. So get your questions ready. I'm not doing the full slideshow. I've decided I don't like that. I'm just going to pick a slide or two and do a deep dive. I'm going to give you a couple updates. So let's see. No, the hogging's totally fine. If no one else is asking, fire away, right? That's the way I see it. Can porn use cause emotional instability? Absolutely. So in the QEEG brain map that I perform, and I'll show you an example of one in a second, it shows emotional volatility. There are very specific brain markers for emotional volatility. Alpha, which I know I shared this brain map last. Hang on, let me get to it. This is the one I shared last week, but this is the alpha one. So I'm trying to remember if I'm doing my share correctly. We're about to find out if yes. Okay. So, okay. We got some Twitch. We got some Twitch followers. Hey, Scottish Brad in the house. I'm glad to see you, my friend. Um, so this is the brain map of alpha intrusion. It's called. This is high alpha. Lots of alpha. Alpha is neutral speed in the brain. When a brain's using lots of alpha, first of all, it's going to cause insomnia and sleep disruptions, which Vikram is maybe struggling with since it's 3:35 a.m. and he's awake and he saw the notification. Which don't get me wrong, I'm glad you're here, but at the same time, we're gonna talk about that in March. So prep for our March lives in terms of sleep and get your questions ready. So when we see this alpha intrusion, that's when we can hang on, let me just get rid of this for a second. that is when you will also have more emotional volatility, because when alpha goes up, it's the speed of depression, it's the speed of lack of motivation, but it also kind of keeps you swinging from the fences too, up and down. Okay, so let me show you a few things, and I see some more questions coming in. Totally awesome. Keep the questions coming in, and I'm going to come back to them in just a few minutes. So, thank you. Let's go with the cues so I can get you your A's, if you know what I mean. So let me. I clicked something I did not mean to. So let me just get to the screen. I actually closed out many tabs before we um, joined here together, because the streaming software says not to have 100 tabs open because it can affect the quality. So let me get to the slides that I want to show you. Let me do a couple updates first, and then I will dive into another slide or two, and then we'll go back to questions. So, update is that, which I'm super excited about, Declan and I will be live for what we're calling Super Normal Week every night, 5 to 6:30 p.m. March 18th through 23rd. So get ready, a whole week of going live. It should be super fun. My sons are putting together the fun content that we are going to be doing. We're going to be showing not only educational, but we're also going to be showing examples of healthy dopamine. We're going to show examples of um, healthy happiness trifecta, as I call it, which is a healthy balance of dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. So that's pleasure, joy, and connection. So it should be super fun. So make plans to join us. Okay, so let me show you a few things here. Okay, let me. All right, so um, in the new slideshows that I've been making, hopefully you've seen them. Put in the chat if you've seen the new slideshows, and if you have any thoughts on. Okay, yeah, put the comments in. I'm coming back to them in a second. Thursday 5166. Third extra small. Probably not. Um, put the comments in. Put as many as you want, because I'm going to come back to them in just a minute. So I want to show some examples of the slides. I'm not going to show the slideshow like I did last week, but if you haven't checked out the content that I've been putting out on the regular, I'm working really hard to improve it. There's more improvements coming. I've got some cool things on the horizon, but I'm going to go back to sharing a slide or two on looking at what we are talking about here. So last week's, I believe this is last week's slideshow that we were talking about. Every single slideshow is going to include the hijack, the miswire, and the rewire. Every single one includes a scientific slide to show you everything I'm talking about has to do with has is backed by science. And like I told you, if you want scientific studies, the publisher made me take them out of Mind Over Explicit Matter when I was writing it, because there was so many of them. So in this slideshow, we see that with repeated exposure, the brain becomes trained for intensity, not for healthy levels of reward and basically and connection. And basically, that's what this slide is showing. I'll just kind of quickly go through and show you some of the slides if you haven't seen them. So make sure you watch the slideshow that comes out. It comes out on Fridays, getting you ready for the weekend with high level education. This is the educational piece. So your brain, when it is hijacked, then it becomes miswired. And you can catch the full video that I made. Here is the scientific study. Really cool. Brain maps. We've looked at this. But I just wanted to show you again that these slideshows are, I'm leveling it up so that we can make sure there's education here. Okay, so let me find the slideshow. That's not the one that I wanted to show you. So and we have Arizona Sumo 394 over in Twitch too. Welcome, my friend. I'm still hot. I went for a run. Had to be done. When you make a commitment to yourself, when you follow through, you can celebrate the small wins. So that's what I did. I pushed myself out the door and got the run in, and that's what I want you to do. And if you don't do what you tell yourself you're going to do, you figure out how you're going to make yourself do it next time. Okay, so let me show you. This is a slideshow from back in January when I was talking about um, goals and setting goals. So, January's theme, if you haven't seen those videos, it was about setting New Year's goals and follow through, what we're talking about right now. And you'll see that the slides have improved. It's the slideshow that I did that has the Matrix reference, if you've seen it. So, let me show you. Oh, let me share my screen again so we can look at a really cool slide that okay, so this is based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you know what that is, it's basically the pyramid of self-actualization. And please put into the comments, I'm coming back to them in a minute, if you know about Maslow's hierarchy. Now, if you get wrapped up in a pornography proper habit or even hypersexualized social media, what happens is the algorithm hijacks your nervous system and you get stuck in nervous system dysregulation down at the lowest level of the pyramid. Down here at the lowest level, that basically is food, water, shelter, sexuality as it's related to procreation to keep the planet stocked with other human beings, if you know what I mean. Not distorted sexuality, which is exactly what pornography and hypersexualized content does. It keeps your brain in the lowest levels of self actualization. So, what most people don't understand is that you get locked in nervous system dysregulation and stuck in the opposite of your full potential. You get stuck going back to passive content for artificial reward of high levels of dopamine, supernormal stimuli, and it keeps you stuck. That's why I'm here, because I don't want you stuck. What I want is for you to be able to climb this pyramid, Maslow's pyramid of self actualization, because up at the top is purpose and meaning and an identity that's filled from within that allows you to walk through the world as the most confident version of yourself, even if other people don't like it, right? That's what we're trying to do here. This is why you have to break the chains of explicit matter, whether it's pornography proper or if it's hypersexualized content, if it's parasocial relationships that you'll find in OnlyFans. I have seen over 50,000 brain maps. I see the damage that it does to brains. I've talked to tens of thousands of people. There's basically a story I haven't heard. People always tell me their stories, and they think it's going to be the most outrageous thing that I've ever heard. And man, do I wish it was the most outrageous thing that I ever heard. But often it's another version of what I've heard many times. So I want you to know, no, Nightingale Prime, I'm definitely not saying that people should only have sex to reproduce. But I am saying that people should have sex with other human beings, not with themselves and a screen. I'm going to let that one land for a minute, right? Because that's what's happening. It's become completely distorted where there's millions of people having sex by themselves, where sex was designed to be done relationally. So that is what I believe. I believe just about everybody out there wants a honey, even if they don't admit it to themselves. They want to have a relationship, they want to be with a real live partner. And if you are caught in the loop where the dopamine from sexuality is linked to yourself through masturbation and is linked to a screen, you won't be able to do that. Oh, T, thank you. That does make it a lot easier. I assumed it wasn't third extra small, right? Okay, T, awesome. Let's see. A bit of boredom and less energy lately. Not to relate it with weight loss journey, but that's been a factor. Also, last week was hard. That's what we're talking about. So if last week was hard, okay. If last week was hard, this is for you, T. Okay, we're back into the comments here a little early, but I love this. So if last week was hard, figure out, first of all, get a journal, get a pleather journal. That's why I thought my book was buried under one of my pleather journals. It's obviously not leather, it's pleather. I get them at Walmart. I know I probably shouldn't announce that publicly, but they're like $8, and I have a lot of them because I like to break my thoughts down in here. And then let's see if this has anything. Don't want to divulge any trade secrets. I think this page, like, I'll just write ideas down and work through them. So get a pleather journal and start working through your thoughts. What was hard about last week? Then change something. Going back to the other comment. Um, Boredom, nobody's been bored since 1986, and it's lack of overstimulation that you're feeling. And there's a lot of research that shows that boredom, like it was in 1986, is the perfect state for creativity. And with constant screens and people always having their face and their brains in a screen, there's no time for what's called the default mode network to activate. That's the mode of recovery. So you're actually not bored. I want you to think about that. You are just lacking overstimulation. Those are two different things. And then of course, weight loss requires committing to change and doing it. And at the beginning of the year, uh I was doing like going back to the comment about working out too much that Scott was saying at the very beginning of the year. Like I was calling them fake workouts. I was moving my body every day, but I'd be in my work clothes. I'd be doing yoga after we went out on Friday night, like in dress up clothes before I went to bed. But that's better than not working at all, or working out at all, or moving my body at all, right? And then now I'm moving up to moving every single day, and then adding some level of intensity. So make a commitment and make sure you can do it, and then do it, and then reward yourself, and then build from there. Don't make these giant, proclamations and then no plan to do it. Get a journal. Okay, so let's see. Does water fasting help the brain as one abstains from social media? Okay, this is a great question. Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ 7. Good question. But okay, now water fasting can be amazing for the body. But here's a huge but for you, okay? Is that it is a major stressor, right? If you're only consuming water, it basically will put your body into a state where it will hardcore detoxify. We'll just leave it at that, which is really, really good for you, but it is an incredible stressor. So if you're abstaining from social media, which is the place you go to get dopamine, to basically regulate your mood, which usually is stress or perceived lack of boredom, no, not enough stimulation, then water fasting is going to stress you out. As you stay away from social media, you are going to want dopamine twice as much. So it's probably not the time for it. What might be better is to start a fast. And intermittent fasting for the vast majority of the population is a healthier way to go, unless you're really trying to achieve a health goal, and you definitely want to do water fasting with some professional watching it for you. You don't want to do that and give yourself other problems because you can. So we'll leave it at that. Okay, so let's see. Morning wood gone if I stopped. So we are going to talk about morning arousal, evening arousal, nighttime arousal, all through March. We are going to hit sexual arousal dysfunction, um, basically around the clock as we talk about sleep. So you can look forward to the longer answer in the content in March, but here's the short answer: is that sexual arousal function is a byproduct of healthy arousal function, meaning your system is running well like it's supposed to. Circadian rhythms. I always use the analogy of an automatic transmission in a car. So if your car's running like an automatic transmission, you don't have to shift gears, right? So, what happens is if you have arousal dysfunction, baseline arousal dysfunction, you'll feel more anxious. Your focus will be off. You will struggle with morning erections. You'll have some sense of sexual arousal dysfunction, what I call SAD. Your sleep will be disrupted because the circadian rhythms are disrupted. And going back to the brain map that I showed you, and I can likely pull it up again real quick. Is this? This is a different one, but this can be good to show too, just to give you a visual. So, like I showed before, I showed the brain being stuck in alpha before. When the brain's stuck in alpha, it's stuck in neutral. That's what I call drained brain. When the brain is stuck in high beta, which is an overloaded brain, that's basically like a manual transmission that is stuck in the gear of acceleration. So if your gears are jammed and you're stuck in constant acceleration or in neutral, your brain is not going to flow like an automatic transmission. And that's why erections will be disrupted at any time and in the morning. In the morning, when your brain's waking up, that happens for a very physiological reason. And that reason becomes disrupted. And that's what we're talking about. Okay, let me see. Okay. Let me see what we got here and try to back up here. Yeah, so John Donne, question about fetishes and pornography addiction. Yeah. So basically, if you're into anything and no matter what it is the highest arousal template, meaning you've been consuming acts or genres or avatars, whatever it is, you've been putting it into your brain consistently, frequently, and with intensity, like we talked about before, it becomes the thing that is your highest arousal template. So your brain gets linked to it for dopamine, and that's the thing that it wants. That's the easiest way to think about it. So the goal is to unlink it, link your brain back. I call it a pleasure pathway reset. You'll see that on my website. Link your brain back to the real world, to people in the real world, to your work, to your relationships. If you don't have a honey, to the honey that you want, to your hobbies, to exercise, even if it's 2 miles at a time, right? So, yeah, really important. Okay, Marcos man, 18. Could be possible to get anhedonia during porn recovery? A resounding yes. And I don't know if I can find that brain map again. I would love to if you saw it. I think no, I don't have it. Um because the brain map that I showed that has too much alpha in it, that is neutral. So, if you think about it logically, neutral is anhedonia, right? Neutral is your brain is stuck, not in go mode. So you will have lack of motivation and you also will feel, no joy. And it goes back to dopamine desensitization in the brain. Let me see if I would love to show you a visual. Let me see if I can find a quick visual here. And if not, we can move on. Let's see what visuals I have handy here. Mm, yeah, this one might be good. So let me show you this visual just to make the point and have something for you to look at besides me. Okay, so this is from one of the slideshows in January. And this is the idea that if your brain gets hooked on very high levels of dopamine from explicit matter, what happens is, you're sitting at your desk, your baseline arousal's down here, and then boom, it goes up here. This is a flood of dopamine. But then it crashes again. And actually, it crashes lower if you continue to do it. Healthy arousal builds like this over time. So the anhedonia is the lowering of the baseline threshold that you feel because you're not, again, cascading up and down in a healthy way. Instead, you're looking for huge dopamine spikes and then crashing afterwards. And then if you do it too often, you end up with anhedonia. And I know how that is a larger sign of dysregulation in the brain, unfortunately. So that necessitates getting busy working on it. Let's see. Okay, T, negative thinking. We call them ants. Those ants will keep marching in, my friend. So, especially the more dysregulated you are, then you will have automatic negative thoughts. What helped has been positive and hopeful that there was hope and faith that I was free. But after recently, it's been hard to be positive. I get that. But what I can tell you from a lifetime of wins, but also what the whole world would perceive as losses, I've taught myself to think of them like the most important learning moments that there are, right? No pain, no gain. That's the saying, and it's absolutely true. When things are easy, you know, you're not being squeezed into a new, better version of yourself. Not that I want the squeeze to happen for anybody, or especially with any level of, regularity, but those are the times, and that allows me to muster up the courage and the strength to figure out the things that I need to do to grow. And then the beautiful thing is going back to Scott, but in more of a proverbial way, is that you're literally building the muscle of persistence and perseverance. So, this is your opportunity, my friend. And I know I've been criticized for using the word opportunity a little too broadly my whole life, but it is your opportunity. So, let's go. Let's rock it out. One brain hack activity for you is that anytime you have an automatic negative thought, put it down in your new pleather journal and look at the negative thought. And then it's called the three-legged stool exercise. And basically, if it's not absolutely true, you can take one of those legs away and then shift it into a positive thought and affirm the positive thoughts for yourself. Okay, in medicine, and I use porn, massage parlors, and cope for the crushing stress from medicine. Bidoof 1207. Yes, I work with a lot of people who I call them lifetime employment. It's kind of a peak performer aspect. And especially if you're in the world of healthcare or you're training for it, like it can be very demanding. But I challenge you lovingly with this thought is that, like, you can't depend on high levels of dopamine from hypersexual behaviors for your whole life and be well. You just can't. So now is the time to figure it out. If you're going to massage parlors, that is because likely it's an escalation behavior. So you consume pornography in the screen. That's going to give you a lot of dopamine. So we know they're super normal stimuli. If you're going into the screen, we're going to call that a level 20 on a scale of 1 to 10, right? We're going to call it a level 11 to 20. But now, if you go into the world for hypersexual behaviors with another person, especially in a paid way that does not involve any level of intimacy, then that's escalation. And it's even more dopamine. Level 25, 30, you will desensitize your brain. I work with very high level peak performers that are burnt out at a very young age because of this very thing. So I really encourage you to figure this out. Join me here on the lives. Go over to Dr. Trish Leigh and Company. I use high level technology, QEEG brain maps, to see how desensitized your brain is. And then I use neuroregulation technology to help shift your brain back into the optimized mode. So you do not want to stay in that way for too long, my friend. Axel Squeeze doing better, but plenty of room for improvement. Always, my friend. We are a work in progress, right? I like to call it imperfect action. Progress, not perfection. So, one thing I encourage you all to do is to think to yourself, is this week better than last week? And if the answer is no, just like I told T, you've got to look at last week. Like, if last week was hard and then this week became worse, we want all the days to get better. We want the medians and means of the weeks to get better. So let's rock it out. Nightingale Prime, nope. I want people to be with people. I want people to let their freak flags fly. Say that 3 times with other people. So, that's how sexuality should be enjoyed. It's not just pleasure, it's supposed to be joy, it's supposed to be connection, it's supposed to be the happiness trifecta. Chatbots, Wally Talk, definitely depending upon how you're using it, but that would be a yes. We know AI is moving into this um, field. I try not to give people ideas, so I don't talk about kind of things on the horizon because I'm trying to help people avoid them. And you know how the hijacker in your brain is. If I tell you some new fancy things you can do to get more dopamine, y'all will probably be going to do that. So that I'm not going to do that. But yes, chatbots. And here's the strategy. Here's the brain hack. Why? Why are you there for the chatbots? And if you can be very honest with yourself, if it's for a dopamine hit, then that's the answer for you. If you're using it for dopamine through a hypersexual mean, the answer is absolutely yes. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yeah, gray skies. Porn can affect every single aspect of your mental and physical, relational, social, and neurological life. Isn't that wild? And again, that goes back to I have worked with so many people that, when I make videos or I talk about this online, of course, I don't like divulge all the things I know, and I know how much people are suffering and struggling in all different ways: mental health, emotional health, cognitive health, which is thinking and focus, motivation. Relationships are deteriorating in secret. I'm sure some of you out there have relationships that are just absolutely falling apart, and you're putting a smile on and going out and chatting with your friends. So, yeah, we're at a DEF CON level here. So that's why I've committed to the lives. I'm also going to be launching in March. We're going to be doing a members only aspect of YouTube at 2 different levels. We're going to be doing the Rewire Circle. And then we're also going to be doing the Neuroregulation Lab where I can answer more people's thoughts. So, okay, let's take another question or two and then we're going to move on to the next segment. Are you ready? So, let's see. After recovery, life feels meaningless. This is a great question, Vikram. Is it because it's not a healthy state of mind to know what is healthy and normal? No. It's because you haven't recovered. I'm going to let that one land too. So, the vital words of your statement are after recovery, life feels meaningless. If your brain actually healed, life would feel filled with purpose, passion, and meaning. Remember the self actualization pyramid I just showed you? At the top of self actualization is your true self, your divinely inspired life. You feel calm, you feel peaceful. What you're talking about is anhedonia. You're talking about white knuckling and staying away. And back in the fall for No Fap November, I made a video and some people were upset about it. So I made 2 clarification videos. That's where I got the idea for the slideshow. One of them is a slideshow. I made the clarification video to say recovery has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And in the end, you feel great and you know the foundation of the life that you have to protect. And it means so much to you. You do protect it. And when I'm talking to T and the others here, that's the thing that I'm trying to encourage you to get to. When you win or learn, the learning is like what broke down in the foundation of the life that you want to create. I had this thought for you all too is that um, about identity. So we know scientific studies are showing that consistent screen consumption, just going to the screen, going to social media, especially parasocial relationships in chatbots and OnlyFans and things like that, is changing your identity. You don't know who you are anymore. So depending upon how long you've been wrapped up in this, when you step away, you just might not even know who's in there. And but this is your chance. This is your opportunity to figure it out. Okay, so let me see. I'll get back to a couple more questions in a second, but let me pull up which I pivoted out of my slides and now I have to figure out how to get back into them. This is not it. So give me just 1 second and I can. Let's see what we got going on over. We got some people in Twitch still, so that's a beautiful thing. I can't remember where I put it. Is it this one? Let me see. Yep. Okay, now for our segment that we're going to be doing. Are you ready for it? Let's talk about brains, baby. Let's talk about you and me. I was singing this around the house earlier to Sersha, who's home sick. I think she was probably as impressed as all of you are. But we are going to be doing a consistent segment here on arousal dysfunction, ED, DE, especially. So we're really launching all of this in March. This is kind of my soft launch to check my technology and to get my ducks in a row. But I'm calling it Let's Talk About Brains. Most people think when they have sexual arousal dysfunction, what I call SAD, that it has to do with vascular flow. That's the number one thing that people confuse. It absolutely has to do with electrical energy patterns in the brain for the vast majority of people. And, of course, I'm going to give you a disclaimer here that, and I'm going to tell you a few more things, but I'm going to give you a disclaimer that go to your doctor and see if you have any physiological issues. Most of the people who eventually come see me, they've already done that. They've gone to their doctor and everything is healthy. They've had their testosterone tested, everything's good, but they still have sexual arousal dysfunction. They still have ED. So if that's the case, that's why I want you to know that when your brain is dysregulated, it affects your whole body. And I am putting this image in the slideshows coming up still because I want to reiterate it over and over is that this shows your brain is the supercomputer that controls most of your organs. And this is the vagus nerve, which it actually intersects with the nerves that go to the pelvic region, and it innervates your sexual organs. So your brain is controlling it through the cascade of your vagus nerve, of the peripheral nerves that come out of your spine. Um, it starts in the brain. So that's what we're talking about here. So if you have any questions on sexual arousal dysfunction, get them back into the chat and we're going to break that down every time. Um, the reason I want to have that as a segment is because for March, we're going to be talking about sleep and we will talk a little bit about arousal dysfunction, but that is the number one thing that I am seeing in men, young and old, but especially young, is struggling with sexual arousal dysfunction at length. And it doesn't have to be that way. I just want you to know that. Okay, so let's see what I'm backing up here. Oh, Jake Hagman in the house. Nice. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for the donation. I really appreciate it. My son Declan and I are relaunching the nonprofit that I founded years ago. It is called, the old version's called Porn Brain Prevention. It's still available at pornbrainprevention.org. We have renamed it the Supernormal Project as the double entendre of leaving supernormal stimuli and creating a supernormal life. And all donations go towards a nonprofit. So I really appreciate that. Does long term usage make OCD worse? Absolutely. Earlier, I showed a brain map of high beta, and I talked about how high beta is the speed of extra fast. It's like having your foot pedal to the metal on the accelerator. It's like going 100 and I'll use the term 109. I don't think my son Declan's here with me tonight because he once upon a time got a ticket going 109 miles per hour. So it is like going, I'm trying to see if I can find that brain map. Of course, I'm in the wrong uh maybe it's this one. Let's see if I can find it. And if not, but it's like going 109 miles per hour. I found it so I can show you again. It's like going 109 miles per hour. So OCD comes out of all of this extra fast speed in the brain, coupled by either low power, which is the blue, or by an increase in the speed called theta. Theta is slow speed. So the way that it works is when you have an increase in theta, you'll have creative thoughts. Then, when you have this increase in high beta, it loops them. What OCD is obsessive compulsive disorders or dysregulation. So the obsessive thoughts loop until you do a compulsion to get rid of them. Now, I call that brain pattern wired and tired. I call it the pendulum effect. I call it strained brain. This is the speeds that create OCD. So the answer is a resounding yes. Now, of course, to follow that up, what is the solution? The solution is to decrease strained brain in your brain. The way I help people is to use technology. It's the fastest way. And you can go over to my website. It's drtrishleigh.com. Regulate First is my program. Um, but you also can get my book if you are interested. I map it all out here in the book. The book is the number one resource if you're balling on a budget like I like to do. Can't remember how many brain hacks I put in here. 56. I was going to say, I thought it was 55, but there are 56 brain hack strategies in this book. This book is like my sixth child. I have five children, and it is a labor of love. I was so excited for this book to get into the world because it is a roadmap, it's a blueprint of how to decrease that strain brain. And I talk about OCD in the book also. So I really encourage you to do that. And thanks again for the donation. Um, what are my thoughts on the easy peasy way to quit porn? I know all the easy peasy ways, but and I think they're really great fundamentally, except for what I know is that most of kind of more old school um, programs are missing the neurological piece. So that's why I renamed my program uh, Regulate First, because you do have to regulate the nervous system first to be as successful as possible. If you don't regulate the nervous system first, you're using your mind and body and you're swimming upstream against a dysregulated nervous system, which is why people here are struggling with the things that they're struggling with. So you do have to regulate first. Okay, so help a trigger for HOCD or yeah. So Jake, the you're totally right, and I've made one video on HOCD. Is that basically the idea behind that is that you have OCD thoughts, and then your arousal is not only linked, like if you're a man, your arousal is not only linked to women, and this goes back to Marco's question, I think it was, that it becomes linked to whatever you keep watching with the highest arousal template. So that can even be men, that can be whatever thing you're going back to, frequency and consistency, that matters and that affects people differently. Okay. Okay, let's see. Eric Quinn, if that's right. Anhedonia is lack of feeling. It's lack of all joy, lack of feeling. Okay. Yeah, lack of excitement. Okay, good. Thank you. Let me see who that is. Uh, Jesse G, man, thank you for answering because I love that when we get people supporting each other in the chat. Really, really cool. Thank you. Um, yeah, Creso 2K822. If you have fear that your sexuality is fluctuating due to PMO, you are right, my friend. And now is the time to get taken care of business. Um, James, I've got to address this one about the wife being a prude. I'll leave the qualifier out. So, first of all, if you have such a negative opinion of your partner, you're likely dysregulated. Dysregulation talks like from a place of disconnection and separation. I say that lovingly, but at the same time, we know that I call it air in the brain. I've made videos over the last couple weeks. The last week's content, which is coming out now, what I recorded a few days ago, it'll be coming out soon. I talk about how partners are affected, that partners aren't dumb. So when they sense that PMO is in the mix, they will, back away and not want to have sexuality or be intimate with their partner. And it's not because they are prudish, it's because they don't feel safe enough being with their partner or their husband. So like, if you wonder why you should put up with her, then of course that is lacking safety in the way she feels about you. And in the content that I have coming up, I'm actually putting together an Amazon book on arousal dysfunction. I put in there the concept of the dysregulated dyad. Like, if you're in a relationship and you're dysregulated, the likelihood your partner is dysregulated is high. So, that's what we're talking about here, is that um, two people have to get back on the same page. And I love, other people are, Nightingale, you don't just find another wife, my friend. And I'll tell you why. But I was going to say, Jesse G, man, I'm glad you're supporting. Uh, and Nightingale Prime, I'll tell you, this isn't just my opinion. This is based on science, is that if your brain is dysregulated and you engage with people um, with less than the highest level of emotionally intelligent dynamics. So we'll just call them toxic dynamics, but low emotionally intelligent dynamics, that you go into the next relationship in the same way. You reproduce it. So if you get a different wife, the likelihood you get the same type of wife is high, and the likelihood that you interact with her in the same way is high. In my program, I have a program on drtrishleigh.com. I call it my master class. It includes my program, Porn Free Brain Forever, and Pleasure Pathways Reset. In there, I talk about you have to increase your emotional intelligence. It goes back to Maslow's hierarchy. You have to go up in the hierarchy and you become a different person. It's going back to the question that I'm forgetting who said it, but the question about, I'll have to find who said it. Just wanted to make sure I give you the shout out, but you'll know who it is. Saying that, after recovery, you feel terrible because you haven't recovered. Once you recover, you feel great. You've climbed that pyramid of self-actualization. Your purpose comes to you. You're regulated enough to hear it, and you have the courage to go into the world and be that version of yourself. Okay, I'm gonna scroll down and try to catch a couple more questions because we're gonna uh James, I don't know about, I mean, sex is normal. I mean, it's healthy. I don't like to use the word normal because show me a normal person. Am I right? But sex is healthy with other people. That's uh, not totally sure. Does dopamine imbalance affect serotonin like a swing? It can affect serotonin because if you're just driven towards high levels of dopamine, then serotonin doesn't hit the same way. Serotonin's like watching a sunset. Dopamine's like skydiving. So if you're just going after that skydiving level of pleasure, sitting in front of a sunset no longer does it for you. So it does throw it off into an imbalance. Let's see. Having an airway issue, does it deplete dopamine receptors even further? One thing that I can tell you is that, well, I'm not totally sure, but of what you're asking, but yes, having physiological. So when I talk about the brain, I'm talking about a top down approach. But of course, then there's bottom up also. So if you have a physiological issue in the body, it can affect your brain too. And we'll leave it there. Okay. No, sex isn't bad, James. Remember the freak flag fly comment I made? Having sex with your partner is good. Okay, we got one more minute. Can we do a lightning round? Could I explain the process of porn recovery course with the QEG brain map thing and how the course is played out? Oh, Gaming Empire. Awesome. I'm so glad you got my book. You are hopefully going to enjoy it. It was a labor of love, and I've been getting a lot of positive feedback for a long time. Sure, of course, I would be happy, and it'll be a good wrap up for this week. Um, and I just want to remind you that next week I'm not going to be live, hence the soft onboarding here, because next week I have an event that I have to attend, which is really exciting. My daughter jumps horses, which is so cool, and she has a show. So I am going to pre-record a premiere, and I'm going to put it out at the same time because consistency is important, like I told you. So make sure you catch the premiere, and then we can, re James, you're a trip right now. We can reevaluate that. Okay, last thing, let's wrap up with how you can. So I'm going to tell you about my program, but I'm also going to just lay it out there like this is absolutely all of the things that you need to do to truly recover from a porn addiction, from a hypersexual social media addiction, from a massage parlor compulsion. I don't even love the word addiction, we'll use compulsion, from any unwanted screen based or hypersexual behavior. This is what you have to do. And this is what I help people do in my program that I call Regulate First. Number one is you have to regulate first. So the QEEG brain map uses very high level clinical grade technology that is delivered directly to your home, and it's basically affordable. And I know sometimes people light me up about it being expensive, but in the grand scheme of things, the fact that this technology is now available as a wearable that you can get home that's connected directly to my app and portal so I can see your brain performance. I work with clients across the entire world, like in almost every single country, as long as you have a stable Wi-Fi connection, and if you're here, you do, uh, then we can work together. So it's really cool. You take your QEG brain map at home. You do it by using the wearable and a sensor. The sensor goes on every area of your brain. It takes a reading. It takes 28 minutes. It populates into my portal. It also populates into the app so you can see it. Shortly after that, we get on Zoom and I break down your brain map for you. I show you all the areas of dysregulation. I relate it to the areas in the brain and what skills and abilities they control. I know all of them. I can share them all with you. I know every type of dysregulated brain pattern. We break it all down. We spend time together. Of course, you filled out intake paperwork in a secure portal. So you can tell me as much or as little about your life, and I can connect it to your brain map. From there, if you want to move forward, I offer my program Regulate First. From there, you can do at home brain training sessions, and they're easy. People are generally skeptics because they don't understand that this technology's been around for 70 years and is highly scientifically efficacious. I talk about it in my book, just so you know, Gaming Empire. It's in there just a little bit. So basically, you can do brain training sessions at home, and they're basically like bicep curls for your brain. You put the wearable on. I set a protocol that's unique for you so that it doesn't put anything into your brain. It's basically like if you're doing bicep curls, you use a weight, right? You use a dumbbell and you start with 15-pound weights and you start cranking the reps. Then, when your brain gets stronger, you swap it out for a 20-pound weight. That's what the app does. It uses very high level mathematical equations to read how your brain is performing and to provide you feedback, just like that weight. The weight doesn't put anything into your muscle, but it makes your muscle stronger. That's what the app does. So you can consistently do the sessions. And just like Scott said, I tell everybody to do 6 sessions a week because we need one day for integration. But I can make the recommendation based on your brain map. You also get access to the master class. It's 134 lessons that I've put together. And if you were here earlier, you know that I've been a college professor my whole life, which is why I'm doing the slideshows and trying to be more educational on the channel. But essentially, I've created a 134 lesson course that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it has every single piece. It's a neuro, bio, psycho, social approach. And going back to the question about the easy peasy method, most methods miss the neuro. And they don't always hit the biological, the psychological, the cognitive, the emotional, and the social environmental aspects. In the 134 lessons, there's all of those things. We talk about trauma, there's a giant section on rewiring your brain through effective strategies that you implement into your daily life. There's pivot plans to be able to stay out of the screen, to learn to dopamine stack while you're staying away from unhealthy dopamine. And in the end, the last section is called the hardwire. As you use the technology, I teach you how to build that foundation of your life and protect it like your life depends on it because it does. Okay, so we're going to wrap up. We're a little over, and I'm trying super hard not to go over. So, you know what I'm going to say, right, my friends? Is that, first of all, thank you for joining me. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you live in 2 weeks. Uh, Check out the slideshows that I've been making. I know you're going to love them, and I know they're going to teach you. They all have a brain hack strategy. And remember, control your brain or it'll control you. I hope you have an awesome night and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Bye, everybody. Uh, bye, James. Let's see. Okay, good night, everybody. Go rock it out. Go have a good night. Go to bed, Vikram. All right. Good night.